So, does anyone care to touch on this further?
If you doubt what I say, why are Clarence Thomas and Thomas Sowell not generally hailed as black exemplars? The answer
Wait. What's the answer?
is simple if you consider it for more than 10 minutes. It is because they are not really black. Black is now a religio-political identity, and this idolatrous approach to politics requires that it swallow up everything. They are
My name is Jerry. I left MAGA, and I'm continuing to dig into Doug Wilson. This guy's got a whole library full of stuff that I can easily get to and fairly easily break down. Now, this one's going to be a little bit longer video. It's about 16 minutes long. But let's go ahead and get into his blog and Mablog thing. That's a hat tip to Gog and Magog, some apocalyptic stuff. Anyway, let's see what Doug's got for us today.
So don't waste your whiteness. If you were born into this world with this particular privilege, then it is your solemn obligation to be a good steward of that privilege. This, mind you, is privilege in God's world, not privilege in that pretendy world of the envious, where carping and clawing are the rule.
Wow. All right. So, man, we're gonna be running deep on this one, huh? All right, let's just do it.
I went back and forth in my mind about the title of this little thing. It came down to intersectional privilege or white privilege, even though I was going to make the same basic points either way. And so naturally, I asked myself which one would be more inflammatory. Ha ha, he joked. I've ventured into this territory before, so more background on these musics, if you need it, can be found here and here. A brief cautionary note, however. These linked non-NQN posts might have some reasonable qualifications in them, so forewarned is forearmed.
Interesting take. And in the previous video that I made on Doug Wilson, I pointed out um, that No Quarter November deals with the Third Amendment. That's what he's trying to talk about. Anyway, a little DNA data. All right, let's see what he's got.
A little DNA data. Before getting to it, if I want to talk about my white privilege, the very first thing to do is establish my bona fides. As a result of the intrepid work of our friends over at AncestryDNA.com, it appears that 63% of my stock was the result of various flirtatious mashups, some of which were probably not a good idea at all, in Northern England, Wales, the Scottish Lowlands, and Northern Ireland.
Oh, so I guess maybe he's got some ill feelings towards which country? The English, the Welsh, the Scots, or the Irish? Maybe it's the Irish. Maybe it's the Scots and the Irish. I don't know.
Ireland and Scotland contributed a distinct 27%, Germanic Europe chipped in with 2%, and Norway weighed in with 8%, with a possible dollop coming from Iceland. Iceland. All of this is to acknowledge, as I hope I'm doing frankly and without guile, that I am kind of white. Let us be frank, I am almost as white as Elizabeth Warren's very high cheekbones. I'm
Okay, that was a low blow, Doug. But you know what? I'm every bit as white as you are. Yeah, yeah, I am. We have very similar genetic profiles, apparently.
almost as white as Justin Trudeau's undercoat. So much for the background facts. The difficulty arises when I indicate by various rhetorical devices, such as these pesky things here called words, that I refuse to feel bad about any of this. I've read my Bible multiple times, and the only place where anybody felt bad about somebody being white was right after Aaron saw that Miriam had been turned as white as snow, Numbers 12:10. But that had only happened to her because she had spoken out against Moses on account of the black Ethiopian lady he had married. I, on the other hand, have always thought it was kind of cool that Moses had married a Cushite, and so it has come to pass that the good Lord has not seen any need to make me look any more midwinter Icelandic than I already do. And besides, most scholars agree that leprosy doesn't really count.
Wow. Wow, this guy, man, just, oh my. So, okay, what are you going to do with this, Doug?
But here's why it is such a shame that intersectional analysis had not really been fully developed by the time of the Exodus, because both Miriam and Aaron had spoken out against Moses, Numbers 12:1, and yet only Miriam got herself whitened. Is this not yet one more case of male privilege? If we consider the post-structural contributions of Germaine Fisher-Bain Tinkweiler, Doctor of Education, whose landmark work on the post-colonial female breast as both social construct and embodied intuition confirms this intersectional solution, it seems hard to deny. And yet, we have to remember that intersectional analysis is still in its infancy, and we've not completely settled on the appropriate weights and measures that go with things like birth order, sex, sexuality, race, looks, straight white teeth, class, and so on. For
All right, that sounds like he's using a eugenics checklist. I could be wrong. I don't know. What do I know? I grew up in a doomsday cult.
example, we don't even know if lesbianism comes in cubits or ephas. And it is kind of hard to know how to play rock, paper, scissors when you don't know what beats what. The central offense here. Okay,
Wait, hard to play rock, paper, scissors if you don't know what beats what. So you're gonna look at some what checklist of ideological human features or idealized? Uh, oh, good grief.
enough with the horsing around. What is going to attract the ire of some in all of this is the fact that I freely acknowledge being really white, and in addition, I grant that this comes with certain privileges that others don't have access to, and the harmonic conjunction of these two realities does not bother me at all. I
Okay, well, I can say the same thing, but I am trying to leverage my position to help those who don't have access to this. I am a white male American veteran. I have access to privileges others don't. And I would be remiss as a human being if I don't leverage those things to try to help other people.
I don't feel guilty about any of it. I can swank around in this white epidermis all day long and yet sleep like a baby. The whiteness and white privilege both go together, and even my name is Scottish. Of course, honesty compels me to mention that this name, Douglas, means something along the lines of out of the black swamp. This is, I don't mind saying, a little bit hurtful. One time,
Oh, well, if the shoe fits.
I checked one of the spinner racks in a Christian store, the ones with little plaques with your name on it, along with the meaning of the name in question and an associated verse. You know, really edifying stuff. I was curious with how they would manage out of the black swamp, but I needn't have worried. The Christian merch industry was up to the challenge and rendered my name as meaning seeker of light, which is presumably what someone ensconced in a black swamp would be seeking, or at least should be seeking.
All right, so he even applies apologetics to his name. Okay, so this guy is just used to running mental parkour courses to get from point A to point B to justify or validate whatever his viewpoint is.
Where was I? Right. I was not feeling bad about something that all the virtuous cis lords in the land are currently insisting that I feel bad about. Virtually every campus in North America is ablaze with indignation over the unbearable whiteness of being, and which most certainly includes my contributions to it. So, as Francis
Um, Doug, we've seen you up there at the Pentagon. I've already uncovered some of the really nasty stuff you've said. I'm gonna keep digging on you, but you could change your ways. You could.
Schaeffer might have asked, how then shall we be white? Eurocentric truth? The central driving engine of all this current POMO madness is the idea that a commitment to fixed objective truth is itself a Euro-Western form of racism and oppression. If I maintain that we have to consider the actual facts first, then I've given myself away as an oppressor. Only oppressors and colonial masters think like that. If I do not bow down before this current narrative, and if I do not festoon that narrative with whatever convenient facts may be ready at hand, while leaving any inconvenient facts in the box, then I have revealed myself to be a monster.
Okay, you can embrace the things of the past and work to change those things in the future. You do not just absolutely have to accept the status quo. And then again, that would not run well with your particular brand of Christianity, your collective of ideals.
This is the world we now live in, but it does simplify things for thinking Christians somewhat. If the bad guys dismiss truth the way they do, then this means that they have sold themselves into the service of the lie. Dismissing truth is a grand identifier. It is a uniform. Jesus
Dismissing the truth. What, like dismissing the fact that Andy Jackson is the one who signed the 1830 Indian Removal Act and forced human migration? Huh? That's an uncomfortable fact, right? The Trail of Tears. And yet you want to write that out of history. You want to ignore that because somehow you're superior because of your Western European ideas, concepts, beliefs, whatever word you want to plug in there.
is the truth, and because he is the truth, we live in a world where truths matter, all truths and all the way down. Truth really is fixed, objective, normative, unbudgeable, and absolute. All those who assail the
Whoa, 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 whoa. Not all truths are absolute. The truths of science are always changing as understanding is broadened. That's why we have more diagnoses of autism. That's why multiple personality disorder is now broken into four categories. You've got dissociative identity disorder, and specified dissociative identity disorder, and unspecified dissociative identity disorder. There's one other one in there that I don't remember off the top of my head. But you, Doug, you're fitting the criteria. I can't make a diagnosis, but I can look at the DSM-5, and it seems to me that you are falling into the categories of an unspecified dissociative disorder. It would seem that you also have a religious delusions, as well as some religious OCD, along with some what am I looking for? A persecution complex, and some narcissistic tendencies, along with some other apathetic characteristics.
reality of objective truth have therefore hoisted their dirty mendacity flag, revealing them to be loyal servants of the lie. So to traffic in the tropes of multiculturalism, diversity, wokeness, social justice, intersectionality, feminism, critical theory, socialism, cultural Marxism, postmodernism, or climate change means one of two things.
Wait. And climate change. All right. Okay. And he's got that big long list and climate change because, yeah, he thinks that people who believe in climate change are cult members. It means one or two things. So I cut him off a little early there, but yeah, I just had to jump in on that. Was quite the list of individuals that he just absolutely doesn't agree with. So anyway, let's find out what these two categories are.
Socialism, cultural Marxism, postmodernism, or climate change means one of two things. Either you are a liar peddling lies, or you are a chump peddling lies. That's it.
Climate change is a lie. Um, I can remember back 50 years, and I can remember winters in Missouri being much colder and us getting a lot more snow, not nearly as many thunderstorms and tornadoes in the spring as like we're getting now. No, dude, climate change is real, and humans have had an impact on that.
That's it. No more options are actually available. Before racial reconciliation can be accomplished, we have to understand that ethnic tensions can only be resolved in the world God made and through the cross Christ died on. Nothing
Whoa. So he can forgive you for being other than white as long as you're other than white and Christian, but most specifically his brand of Christianity. In other words, he wants to be the Pope of the American church. It sounds like.
whatever is going to be accomplished by appointing a bunch of commies to the editorial boards of all our dictionaries. So whiteness is a problem, is it? Before we talk about that, what world are we in? The world God made with sin defined by him, or the world you are trying to make with all the sin defined by you?
Oh, there's just so much to unpack there. How about sins defined by the law, where you missed the mark? because that's what it means to sin. You've missed the mark. And if you've missed the mark in a fashion that breaks the law, I mean, you wanted to burn what? You wrote a blog post about you wanted to burn what? You got a visit from the FBI, and you don't think that's like pushing things a little bit? You don't. Oh, good grief, man.
If the latter, then perhaps you will pardon me if I just walk away. The politics of privilege explained. In the world they are trying to construct, race and sex and everything else is merely a social construct, which is kind of like attempting to build an obelisk the size of the Washington Monument out of paper mache. All it has to do is rain a couple of times and their future glory will sink down into a sodden mass, a great pile of former grandeur. No doubt its failure will be attributed to the secret machinations and plots of the capitalists. In the world God
But dude, your side is like you guys have all the capitalists, like all the big names, like Peter Thiel, you got Jeff Bezos, you got Elon Musk, you got freaking Grant Cardone, an OTA, top of the bridge in Scientology, and his wife Elena Cardone. What about Trish Duggan? Huge Scientology donor. Um, anyway, yeah, let's just try to carry on.
actually made, the question of white or black is a biological fact and not a religio-political identity. In the world they desire to build with their epistemic paper mache, the correct religio-political identity is everything and trumps every creational fact. We Christians believe that Jesus is Lord, and so it is that his word governs all and determines the nature of things. These secularists believe that their burgeoning state is Lord, and so it is that its word, aka their word, should govern all and determine the nature of things, which is, as they have now solemnly decreed, fluid. Their
Oh my goodness, dude, dude. Oh man, you see, uh, this guy's really dangerous. I did listen to this already, and I had forgotten that he was this far off the rails, and it's only been a couple of days since I watched it.
death grip on the dictionary editorial decisions is, however, not at all fluid. The world is always governed by the God of the system, of necessity, and so this lunatic cultural episode we are all witnessing should be tagged for what it is. That is to say, a demented effrontery. The God of
Okay. So if nothing is fluid and everything is ruled by God and it's all set in stone, how did you get the technology to be able to do this when 100 years ago this wasn't possible? That is a fluid dynamic of society, an evolutionary dynamic of society. You ninny.
their system is directly challenging the God who dwells in unapproachable light. I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation. In the sides of the north, I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Isaiah 14:13 and 14. Yeah, been tried before. White black people. If you doubt what I say, why are Clarence Thomas and Thomas Sowell not generally hailed as black exemplars? The answer
Wait. What's the answer?
is simple if you consider it for more than 10 minutes. It is because they are not really black. Black is now a religio-political identity, and this idolatrous approach to politics requires that it swallow up everything. They are
so so their skin color, the melanin content of their skin is a religio-political view. You can't look at a human being and make an informed decision as to what their complexion is. You've got to put some sort of religious mask on it, some ideological mask on it. Oh, they might look black, but they're really white in their heart because they've been what washed. Oh, good grief. Anyway,
not black for the same reason that Margaret Thatcher was not a woman. Why isn't anybody in the racial
wait. I okay. I had forgot that. Hang on. Let's go back and listen to that.
it for more than 10 minutes, it is because they are not really black. Black is now a religio-political identity, and this idolatrous approach to politics requires that it swallow up everything. They are not black for the same reason that Margaret Thatcher was not a woman. Why isn't anybody in the racial reconciliation crowd reaching out to Vodi Bakum?
If you don't know who Vodi Bakum is, that's all right. He's one of those black evangelical preachers. I will try to get over to the grifter at some point. Maybe I don't know. There's plenty of information out there about Vodi Bakum. Um, Bauchum, I think is how his name is spelled. Vodi, Vodie. But Margaret Thatcher wasn't a woman. And these are the same people who are asking us of a liberal mindset, what is a woman? And this guy just sits here and says Margaret Thatcher wasn't a woman for the same reason that these black guys aren't black. So who's confused? Doug?
Black and woman and gay and so on have been transformed into political favors to be handed out to political favorites. The fact that the first two are creational gifts and the third is a sexual perversion doesn't change anything about the game that is being played. When Peter Thiel endorsed Trump, Thiel being that man who said at the Republican convention that he was proud to be gay, to whoops and cheers, he was stripped by the progressives of his status as a gay man. It turns
No, no. He was not stripped of his status as a gay man. He was identified as a less than benevolent human being. Good grief.
out that just about everybody is confused, especially Republicans. This is why a black
Oh, okay. Well, hang on. Let's double back on that. Let's go back a little bit because we got that out of context. So let's back up
Peter
15
Thiel
seconds.
endorsed Trump, Thiel being that man who said at the Republican convention that he was proud to be gay, to whoops and cheers. He was stripped by the progressives of his status as a gay man. It turns out that just about everybody is confused, especially Republicans.
Is that why Republicans are so obsessed with their transvestigations? Is that why Candace Owens thinks that the Prime Minister of France, Macron, that his wife is really her brother? Eh,
This is why a black conservative is, in their world, an oxymoron. They are in charge
It is. It is an oxymoron. Oh, good
of
grief.
Republicans. This is why a black conservative is, in their world, an oxymoron. They are in charge of genuine blackness, registered trademark, and black conservatives don't have it. They are the
I bet he's I bet he's one of those that's funding the hunt for the CEO of Antifa and looking for the headquarters.
arbiters of true womanhood, registered trademark, and a pro life woman is in their minds a sexual heretic, and this is why she has to be summarily excommunicated. Rich
Wow. Hey, all right. Let's get that in context again too.
moron. They are in charge of genuine blackness, registered trademark, and black conservatives don't have it. They are the arbiters of true womanhood, registered trademark, and a pro life woman is in their minds a sexual heretic, and this is why she has to be summarily excommunicated. Rachel Dolezal, with the wrong color but the right opinions, was far more black than Clarence Thomas, he the one with the right color and the wrong opinions.
Oh my God. And to think, and this is Pete Hegseth's preacher out of Moscow, Idaho. They've got several campuses. There's a lot of people that follow this dude. See, these people need serious professional help. These people need an intervention.
What matters to them is not what God did, but what they say. What matters to them is not skin color considered as a creational reality. The only thing they care about is their orthodoxy, defined as them getting their way no matter what. All of this from
It's, says the people who are crashing out because of the fact that Americans don't like the idea of somebody trying to become our king, or on again, off again tariffs, or any of the other insanity that we've been exposed to for the last year plus.
from front to back, top to bottom, side to side, is a simple and straightforward power play. And they are running this power play on a traditional establishment that doesn't even know how to stop a toddler pitching a fit in a restaurant. Still,
Says the guy who is working with a movement called the Heritage Foundation. Oh gosh.
less do they know how to stop a million Antifa toddlers pitching the same kind of fit. Zero sum envy. The spiritual rot that is driving all of this is the crushing sin of envy. Privilege, perceived or real, is always resented by the envious, and they are the only ones who resent it. Privilege
I don't resent you having white privilege. Resent you because you don't use it in a benevolent fashion. You're not using it to help anybody other than your white Christians. Your white Christians. You took a huge slam at a big swath of the evangelical community earlier. What the hell, dude?
is never resented by the grateful, by the contented, by the saints of God. If God has blessed someone else with more smarts, then God bless him. If God has blessed her with better looks, then may God continue to bless her. If God has blessed him with wealth and favor, it sounds like something straight out of the book of Deuteronomy. When the rich steal from the poor or defraud them, the problem is the stealing. James 5, 4 and 5. The problem
Exploitation is theft. Billionaires, millionaires people like don't get that kind of money without exploiting their fellow human beings to one fashion or another.
is not the mere fact of income inequality. The problem is the stealing. A
Elon Musk is worth what, 400 billion? I was brief communications with somebody this morning, and they're an insurance adjuster down in the southern states. And they're like, man, I wish I could just call them all up and give everybody $500,000, but he doesn't have the power to do that. And it's like, that's frustrating, man, because Elon Musk has got this $400 billion. He could give $500,000 to 1,000 homes. That would only be 500 million. That would only be 500 million, half a billion off his 400 billion. So what is that? Um, an eighth of a percent?
stone is heavy and the sand weighty, but a fool's
Oh, also notice in the video that where he was calling for burning a particular structure, uh, he would use the ESV, the English Standard Version. In this particular video, he's using the King James Version, which means he's cherry picking, just like he does with everything else. So let's back up here.
the problem is the stealing. A stone is heavy and the sand weighty, but a fool's wrath is heavier than them both. Wrath is cruel and anger is outrageous, but who is able to stand before envy? Proverbs 27, 3 and 4. The envious simply assume that if there is any difference at all, then an offense has necessarily been committed. This is why the mere existence of any kind of privilege is an affront to them. They assume that every good in the world is apportioned in a zero-sum game, meaning that if one person has more, then that means the others have less because of the guy who has more. But this is not the way God dispenses blessings. In a world free of envy, one person getting a bigger slice of pie does not necessitate others getting a smaller piece because in a world free of envy, the pie grows. What would you
Not in a world of finite resources, though.
rather? A smaller fraction of a huge pie or a huge fraction of a teeny pie? But enough about socialism. Parents who love each other and stay together are imparting unbelievable privileges to their children. Parents who read to their children are doing the same. Parents who take their kids to the orthodontist are also privilege mongers. Parents who provide their kids with warmth, food, security, and education are strewing privilege out of a sack with both hands. How can privilege
So if some people can do that, God bless them. Otherwise, if some folks can't do that, tough luck. Instead of doing the charitable thing and utilizing your abilities to feed, oh, I don't know, 5,000 people off of two loaves and, or was it five loaves and two fishes? I think if you actually look deeper into that story, it was the food that got broke out to be shared helped everybody else go ahead and go, yeah, you know what? I've got my lunch here too. Let's all pitch in our lunches. It was like the original potluck. Anyway, sorry about kicking that. Anyway, back to this dingbat.
Privilege be evil when God commands parents to give so much of it to their children? So the best way to bequeath privilege to your children is to ensure that they grow up in a home free from envy. And if they grow up in a home where envy is recognized for the soul-destroying sin that it is, then this is also the best way to equip them to deal with the world that is crammed full of envy, a world that runs on envy. Growing up in an envy-free home is the best way to build up an immune system against this pandemic of ulcerated sores that the world likes to call social justice.
No, that's generating apathetic mindsets. You see, and that explains a whole lot right there.
A world full of envy cannot deal with Christians who laugh effortlessly. A small gallimaufry of observations. White privilege is supposed to be everywhere and in everything, like the frogs of Egypt. Only nobody can see them, so they are the invisible frogs of Egypt. In fact, we only know they are there because the priests of Egypt have told us about them. But why are you listening to the priests of Egypt? White privilege is supposed to be this insidious thing that becomes deadly if denied. In other words, if you deny that you are guilty of white privilege in the senses ascribed to you, then they instantly up the ante because they think that their culture is in peril. This is
I'm going to challenge you with that white replacement theory where you guys think that your place in society is in peril. Now, I think what we're trying to get you to understand, what I had to learn to understand was that fact that I can use my position in society to help others. Have you did you not learn the moral to the story of the Good Samaritan? Do you not remember that the Samaritan at that point in time in history, in that cultural context, was viewed as such a low member of society that they were beneath the dogs that ate the trash in the midden pile and the trash pile, the city dump. And yet this guy, this Samaritan stopped and helped somebody else, even though he knew that he was recognized as the scourge of the earth. Good grief. You're heartless.
ascribed to you, then they instantly up the
But you could change that. You could change that. You really could.
privilege is supposed to be this insidious thing that becomes deadly if denied. In other words, if you deny that you are guilty of white privilege in the senses ascribed to you, then they instantly up the ante because they think that their culture is in peril. This is why they turn you into a white supremacist, and they do that by simply declaring you to be one. The ease with which numerous online commentators hurl accusations of white supremacy around, let us call them clickbait lies, shows how this racism inflation works.
Wait, but you just spent the last what 13 minutes of this particular video talking about how you are superior because of your white privilege. How is that not white supremacy? I'm asking you a question here, man, because I know what you are. I grew up around your kind. It took some work to break that mentality.
Racism is no longer the sin they are trying to rid us of. Rather, charges of racism are the discipline that is applied whenever anybody who is guilty of any of the other sins they have made up. This is not a white-black thing, but it illustrates what is being done to the word privilege. When the amphibious landing craft were approaching Normandy Beach, they were all exclusively filled with young males, holding their guns nervously, and our generation has taken to calling this kind of thing male privilege. I grant that there was privilege involved.
No, no, it's not a privilege. Get snatched up off the streets through a draft and chucked off into a foreign country to die or kill. Those being your choices. That is not a privilege. Defense is one thing. Colonialism, bad, real bad.
but submit that according to this calculus, the privilege was elsewhere. This is how we know we are dealing with the apostles and priests of a new religion, a religion entirely distinct from the Christian faith. They are laying sovereign claim over every word in the dictionary, and they have the impudence to believe they are going to pull it off. In the grip of this folly, they claim that they are the intelligent ones, the sensitive ones, the ones they have been waiting for. Whatever butters your cabbage.
Be the change you want to see. That's what we're doing. We're being the change we want to see. Dense, and so dangerous.
A final thought. So don't waste your whiteness. If you were born into this world with this particular privilege, then it is your solemn obligation to be a good steward of that privilege. This, mind you, is privilege in God's world, not privilege in that pretendy world of the envious, where carping and clawing are the rule, and where every privilege is assumed to be obtained at the expense of somebody else. If it is actual,
It is. It generally is. Because it's not a privilege when you're homeless to receive charity. That's not a privilege. A person shouldn't be homeless. There,
privilege, then a Christian has the responsibility to steward it with a grateful spirit of noblesse oblige. And of course, noblesse oblige that is patronizing or supercilious isn't noblesse oblige at all. However, if it is the faux sin of whiteness that the guilt-mongers are hurling at you, then you have the responsibility to just laugh at them and go on your way. And a black man with privileges that I don't have, but who has the same spirit of gratitude, should do exactly the same thing. We serve the same kind God, and we are not chafed by anything that God decided to give to somebody else. If God has given you something, then you must not accuse him of being a hard master and then go off and bury it in a handkerchief. Luke 19:10. Although actually, if we want to keep this parable current with the times, that worthless service would have to go off to some designated safety zone at his college, wrap his whiteness in a handkerchief, give it to the trained counselor, and spend a soothing hour coloring pictures of the therapy puppies. But the reason the master judges him out of his own
good golly, Miss Molly. Yo, dude, you doing some heavy. Oh man, what's the word I'm looking for? That's just straight up. Good grief. Minimizing. That's the word I'm looking for. Minimizing. The minimization of your fellow humans is just a variation on dehumanization.
at his college, wrap his whiteness in a handkerchief, give it to the trained counselor, and spend a soothing hour coloring pictures of the therapy puppies. But the reason the master judges him out of his own mouth in this retold parable is because he didn't put his whiteness in the handkerchief at all. That entire hour was suffused in whiteness, from the ceiling to the floor, from the front door to the back door, and included the therapist, the coloring books, all the woke business, the hurt feelings, the appropriation of victimhood, the lot. He couldn't have spent a whiter hour than if he had gone off to the Benjamin Moore factory to dive headfirst into a vat of white diamond OC61.
Okay, so we'll skip the giveaway stuff. White Diamond OC61. Man, that was really specific. That's like super white. All right, well, that guy's a real piece of work. Um, Margaret Thatcher wasn't a woman. I was stationed in England when Margaret Thatcher was Prime Minister. She was very well celebrated as a woman, very much celebrated as a woman. She was, looking back on her now, I understand that her pro-apartheid stance was rather demonstrable, but I was a very different person when I was around 20 than I am now, going, in my early 60s. So there is that. Anyway, well, we made it to the end of this one, and I'm going to try to get some more put together today. If you made it to the end, thank you. That lets me know that you are looking for the information, that you are looking for the sources, which the links will be down in the description as always. And I hope you found this informative. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up. If you haven't yet, subscribe. And feel free to share this with anybody that you think it might benefit. Until the next video, please take care of yourself so you can help take care of each other. Get the rest you need, drink those fluids, and don't forget, mental health matters.